Good afternoon and good evening, Random Maniacs. This is Weirdo with Final Fantasy Randomizer, and this is our IronGol Heavyweight Tournament. This is a matchup coming to you. We haven't had one for a couple of weeks due to the spring tournament, but here we are with Edgeworth versus Cheezinator. And joining me in the booth here, making his broadcast debut for us, is Dr. Funkin.
What's up, Randomaniacs? Good to be here on this Monday afternoon commentating for the Heavy Metal IronGol Championship.
So we are here, we're about to let these runners start. We have Edgeworth, the confused old man himself, versus It Ain't Easy to Be Cheesy, Cheezinator HS. And joining us in the booth, we have the bandit, Burt Reynolds himself, tracking for us. And Dang Woo is our restreamer tonight. So, Dr. Funkin, why don't you tell us a little bit about what these two will be getting into as we start these runners off?
Sounds good. We have got shop and magic levels shuffled, as well as, let's see. Oh gosh, I am having trouble reading this. So, what do we got going on? The bosses are clamped at 150%, but they cannot roll below 100%. So we've got a little bit of scaling up, but they can't get too nasty. There are no loose items, but there are 3 dud locations. Scripts are not shuffled, so floor safety will be something of a known quantity, and there's not going to be anything spooky like Deep Towns or Deep Topher, as we are also doing entrance shuffle. It's a little lower than Squits as well.
Yeah, floor and entrance shuffle is going to be crazy. We're off to the races. Cheezinator finding the Temple of Fiends in Canaria Castle, while Edgeworth heads into the item shop looking for these blurst weapons.
That's right, we have blurst weapons, so they can be plus or minus some value, so they could be stronger, they could be weaker, who knows? We'll find out as they go.
And our black magic here has Ice 2 and Brack to start off with, so at least we have a sleeper. White magic, I saw Cure 3 and I saw a Life. I think the Life was white locked, which means neither party is going to be able to use that.
That's a real disappointment for them.
Absolutely. And speaking of parties, I see we have identical parties here, so what's going on with that?
I believe that these party was chosen as part of the seed.
Yeah, they are forced, and so they have identical parties. The magic is going to be a red mage, and then a knight and a ninja if we get promotion. So Edgeworth and Cheezinator both making short work out of Garland, and we'll see what we get out of there. We do need to find Canaria Castle to be able to receive those incentive items there, but they'll be open to us when we make it.
Yes, they will. And I saw that we have tents for the nice price of 41 gold each, so we won't have to worry too much about having save items.
Yeah, that's always a big thing early, is being able to have those so you can check these initial locations. Both runners on the same encounter table fighting this Gur-Imp and Werewolf, Waswolf,
When wolf, who
pack.
wolf?
All of the above wolf.
Looks like they make it out, get some nice levels out of that.
Yeah, Cheezinator loses almost his whole party, but that knight is going to have a lot of levels. Not the one you want levels on quite this early. You really want to have
that on the
levels
mages.
on that. Absolutely. And why would we want that?
Well, because you get more spell charges. And more spell charges makes it easier to kill large packs and get more experience. Speaking of experience, tonight's experience will not be linked to key items. It's instead going to be linked to orbs, so the more bosses they kill, the more experience they earn.
Yeah, that's an interesting change, and certainly makes a big difference. Opal plus 2.
Ooh, Opal plus 2 is nice. You got your top tier armor for, half of your party right off the bat.
Yeah, and then it's a plus 2 on top of that, so that's increased absorb, So that is amazing item, and that'll get us into a lot of locations a lot easier than we would otherwise.
Certainly will. You can't. Having that extra absorb is going to pay off big.
Yeah, the other side of our burst weapons is we have those saber +5s and a silver hammer +5. So those saber +5s, those are mid-game weapons already. So plus 5% crit chance, plus a lot of damage, a lot of 2-hit. So those are, I mean, they sell like they're the cheap sabers from vanilla, but they sure don't hit like it.
Not at all, and I can see why Edge would then go and equip 3 of his party with them at this point.
Yeah. Meanwhile, that falchion is less than worthless. You're probably better off punching with that -4 on it.
It seems like a waste of gold.
Yep, Edgeworth makes it up to the Temple of Fiends and finds the bottom of Bahamut's cave and decides to head west, runs into some arachnids here. Cheezinator heading up the same way, just a minute or so behind Edgeworth in his exploration.
Absolutely, and some Ice 2 will take care of most of these arachnids, and that fighter will finish them off. And we're already at seeing level 5 for Edgeworth's entire party.
Yeah, having that early sweeper has made a difference, and he's been able to keep his whole party up the whole time. So that's the difference from Cheezinator. And Cheezinator fights the bridge boss.
My god, this early? Now, do they get an experience bonus for fighting the bridge boss, or does that one not count?
It's only for lighting orbs, and Edgeworth finds Elfland and finds Nuke at level 3.
Oh, you love to see it. Fantastic having the most powerful sweeping magic at such a low level.
Yeah, Cheezinator heads up to Matoya and finds the Sky Mace while Edgeworth takes on his own bridge boss, defeats that, and is headed down to Northwest Castle.
What do we got in Northwest Castle is Melmond. Now, is Zozo Melmond this week?
It is. They have a lot of these changes on. We're not used to seeing them from the spring tournament. One of them Edgeworth used was the open progression, being able to walk all the way from Dwarves down to Northwest Castle, where normally you would need to have a canoe to get across there.
That's right, and progression is so open today that technically they would not even need a canoe if they get the floater in order to get their airship.
Yep, either a canoe or a ship will get them access. Cheezinator headed east, checked out Provoca, and is coming back, not a place he wants to hang out for right now, and is going to get the good news of Elfland in just a second.
Oh, we're heading over to Marsh Cave, which likely not actually Marsh Cave, which makes it a lot more incentivized to visit. Ooh,
yep.
Earth Cave, though.
Yep, but it's Earth 1, so the other thing we have to remember is that it's not just entrance shuffle, but it's entrance and floor shuffle.
Oh, that's true.
Whoa.
So it could be anything beneath. Oh, +5 Opal gauntlets. Those would be great for his fighter should he happen to promote to Knight.
Well, and we know where to promote, so it's just a matter of us finding the right incentive location to have that tail.
Definitely.
The other thing he found is he found a Nightmare tile. I believe that's actually the Nightmare and Badmen tile because the Nightmares were in the back. That's actually a reasonable experience spot, especially having Ice 2, which those Nightmares are weak to.
Yeah, though it doesn't look like Edge is interested in grinding on that tile as he immediately heads out.
Maybe just to save his Opal gauntlet.
Very possible.
Yep, and he continues to explore. He's going chest hunting. He's looking for some gear or some money. Probably money.
Most likely, because, there's plenty of good gear that he's bought, but he's running a little short, and those spells at Elfland are not going to be cheap. +4 short sword, didn't see what was in the other chest.
Well, and while Edgeworth is exploring, Cheezinator has decided to take a grind here in the forest outside the Dwarf Cave, which is Elfland. And so he's picking on these ogres and creeps, trying to earn some cash and probably trying to buy Nuke.
Seems like a sensible option to me. After all, like I said, Nuke is so valuable, especially when you can get it this early.
Right, Edgeworth heads down to his last couple of chests, stepping around the encounter tile.
We got some
Finds a
gold
silver-
and a silver helmet. Nice.
Yeah, that 8,000 cash is certainly going to be helpful. That's enough cash to buy most of your spells for Elfland, so certainly enough for Nuke for that Red Wizard. And the big question now is Edgeworth going to check all these grind tiles? And yes, he's headed to the Hall of Giants.
Ooh, what do we got over here? Spiders, ugh.
Well, these aren't permanent.
No, we haven't
these are
reached
just,
there.
Yeah, these are just the wandering spiders.
Yep.
Looks like Cheezinator, not Cheeseworth. Cheezinator seems to have ground up enough money to buy his nuke, and is checking white magic.
Cheezworth will be their tag team name when we have the tag team heavy metal championship next year.
Yeah, well, certainly there's a co-op tournament, and I know we're looking. It's in the planning stages. We're still in the middle of spring tournament, but it's certainly an option for this game, and
ooh, Lit
it's
3 and
very
Quad X
popular.
at level 4 black magic.
Yeah, both very useful spells. Quad X is one of the few insta-death spells that I actually like using, because it's guaranteed to hit if your enemy is low enough in health.
If they're at less than 300 and also don't resist the death element.
Yeah, and Edgeworth seems to be taking a break here, so we'll see what's going on with him. And now we're catching up a little bit. He went back to Melmond. That's why his screen froze. Nobody wants to see Melmond.
God, no. Especially not in that weird green palette. Ooh, level 5 Temper. That was at the 4th slot. Is the Red Mage going to be able to learn that?
Yes, I believe the 3rd slot is the Vanilla Warp slot, and that's the slot that the Red Mage isn't going to have access to. Although I'm not sure about whether it's promotion locked or not.
That's a dead vampire in Melmond. Ooh, +4 coppers. Those are decent.
I didn't realize vampires could be on the Zozo Melmond tiles. I'm so used to the ghouls and the pirates.
Yeah, me either.
And that copper bracelet +4 is actually worth buying.
Absolutely.
And Cheezinator makes his way into the cave formerly known as Marsh, and now has the Earth 1 tile, and finds the Nightmare grind, finds his Opal +5 gauntlet, and is taking on this encounter.
So do we still think this is the Nightmare Badman tile, or do we think it's just the Nightmare tile from Inside of Ordeals?
You're right. It's pretty unlikely that they would both run. They would both only encounter nightmares. So that's certainly a strong possibility.
In the Elfland Castle, Edgeworth has found Provoca in his level 2 magic shops. Oh, yep. Fire 3 at level 2, as well as Lock 2. Brilliant stuff.
And then Exfer and Cure 4 in white magic. That's going to be amazing for later on, because both his Red Wizard Red Mage, Red Wizard, and his Knight are going to be able to use all of those spells. Just hope we have room to pick up Lamp as well, because Lamp is the best spell in this game.
I mean, how else are you going to deal with the darkness?
I mean, it's scary. I need a nightlight. But there's no nightlight spell, so they had to go with Lamp.
Yeah, they only had so much space, you know? Oh, we got unrunnable mummies on Cheezinator's side. Oh, Vicky's got the canal.
So that's a big pickup, because that'll allow Edgeworth, well, it could be a big pickup, but we don't have that ship yet. Sorry, still a little used to our spring tournament with a free ship, but if he finds one more item, then he'll be able to head out and check another couple of continents worth of locations.
Absolutely, he will. See, anything good in the armor shop? Oh, +4 chain is dirt cheap.
Yeah, I mean, chain is already pretty good, and then +4 makes it pretty amazing. Steel is also +5, so we can't afford that yet, but when we do, that's amazing armor for that knight.
Absolutely, it would be.
Okay, and then Dr. Funkin, we have a question from Gloomchew in chat. Are the item spells random or vanilla? So is item magic shuffle on?
Item magic shuffle is on. So item magic will be randomized, which will add an entire new dimension that I was completely unaware existed.
Yep, you can have any kind of spell in any way. Oh, Xcal +1. Oh.
Ooh. Xcal +1, a silver knife +2. There's the real game changer. That silver knife +2. Oh, you love to see it.
Yeah, but we don't have a black mage to power through with that silver knife for us, so I'm not sure that's going to help so much.
That's alright, we haven't seen Saber yet either, I don't think.
Oh, Saber the spell, probably not. But Edgeworth, following the exploration, also finds this Cardia treasure island at the bottom of Earth 1, which is in Marsh, so... Trying to think what entrances we still have to do. We had that Matoya Sky maze.
So it might be Sky Maze. Because we've been to Provoca, we've been to Elfland, we've been to Elfland Castle, we've been to Dwarves, we've been to Corneria, we've been to Corneria Castle, and we've been to Topher.
Yeah, it looks like everything is kind of dead other than
Sky Shovel. Ooh, I didn't see Life 2 in the first slot of level 5 White Magic.
Okay, so we have a couple of questions there, both from Two Gun Sabo and from Kyodishin, about the +2, +1. So those are our Blurst weapon flags, so a relatively recent set of flags to come out. And so all weapons and armor can be anywhere from -5 to +5. So even a +1, it's adding to the damage of that weapon, the to hit of that weapon, and the critical chance. Armor, of course, is adding to absorb or removing absorb. So a +1 Xcal is already better than the vanilla Xcal. We haven't seen a weapon better than that yet, whether that's a vanilla weapon that's close to it or another weapon.
Give it as pluses and minuses on a sword, like in Dungeons & Dragons, you know, if you're a huge enough nerd to understand that reference.
Yeah, so finding one, we haven't explored much of the world yet. Really, our possible progression is going to be through going up to Matoya's for that sky maze, and I don't remember what was in Provoca, but I know Cheese saw it. So those are the only things that we found that could possibly hold our progression.
Burt Reynolds and Crab Cakes in the chat, both expressing love for the +- weapons flag.
Yeah, well, and Crab Cakes does love to kill her some bats. So I'm not sure
Who
what she
wouldn't
does
love to kill some bats? Edgeworth would have loved to have killed a dragon earlier that was walling him out of one of those chests.
Yeah, and here Edgeworth is covering up some of the exploration lead that Cheese has, finding this sky maze, and is
on
going
a
through,
whiz
finds a
bam.
whiz.
Went down nice and easy.
Well, as you were saying earlier, a nuke will do that to you.
Sure will. Nobody wants to get nuked.
And with that vamp, I'm not surprised Edgeworth takes a walk outside and saves before heading back in. These fights, if he can take them, are going to be fantastic experience. But that fighter casting Fire 2, that's going to be scary.
Absolutely, it is. At this low level, you can't afford to take too many of those. One of those, really.
Right, but gets his nuke out, and the nachos
Ooh.
were waiting for him, unrunnable. You're not getting away without trying us. We are extra tasty tonight.
His own hype.
And Edgeworth resets out of that, loses that experience that he was trying to go out and save. Meanwhile, he's taking this very bizarre route through the Sky Maze to head down.
Well, when you're a confused old man like Edgeworth or I, going up, then right, then up, then right makes it a lot easier to go through without getting lost.
Yep. And then Edgeworth taking a pause there, probably to take notes of what's going on. So we have a sort of upside-down vanilla cake so far, where Sky 4 led into Sky 3, leads into Sarda.
Hello, Sarda. Ooh, and there's the ship we need to get out of the Inner Sea. Now the question is, does Edgeworth continue through Sky at this point? Or continue digging out Sky, or does he go immediately out? Oh, he's going out.
Yeah, I would say he's way too low level for Sky. He is trying to make his way out so he can save this ship. Then he can decide if he wants to come back in for those chests or not. Cheezinator is following the same path. He knows where to go. He comes over here and finds an pack of airs that Edgeworth hasn't seen yet.
Edgeworth successfully drags that ship all the way out of Sky.
And it looks like you called it. Edgeworth is headed down to his ship, finds it on his nearest inner sea dock, and is going to sail the seas, probably over to Melmond.
And who could blame him? It's the closest place to stop off once you get out of the Inner Sea.
Well, and it's not actually Melmond, so that makes it much more inviting.
That's true, we already found Melmond.
Yeah, at least we know to avoid that part of the world. It's a horrible, horrible place.
Unless you want to come back later and take Life 2 to your Red Mage.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's probably worth entering that hive of scum and villainy. Which is also true because we have Zozo Milman today.
Absolutely. Edge is making some further preparations over in Corneria before he begins his sea voyage.
Oh, and he's headed east. He's sailing to Provoca.
Yeah, he hasn't been there yet.
Yeah, I forgot that he hadn't exported. It was Cheezinator that has seen what Provoca is, and Edgeworth smartly taking the ship for those fewer encounters.
Absolutely. And of course, since we've both forgotten what Provoca is, this is going to be new to us. Ooh.
It's the cube block, so it's a floor, but you can't get past this until you have the cube, which we don't have yet, so worth noting, something especially in these entrance and floor shuffle, you gotta take notes.
Ooh, Edgeworth gets a nuke off on some of those, on this mage grind tile. And he's taken a few of these.
Yeah, so if he thinks they're low enough HP that he can take them down easily, well... And whoa, because Cheezinator on the right side found Opal Shield +3, so all the Opal gear is rolling really high positive so far. Finds a Silver Armor +2.
He does. And he's found the Power Staff. which is still a power staff.
So it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 staff now because it's +1. So it's one. It sells for 12,345 in vanilla, and that's about all it's good for.
Indeed.
Crabcake's playing for the godly 100 absorb seed. You could put 100 absorb on the fighter. I mean, you could just stand there and laugh at Kraken too while he tries to hit you. 10 hits for 10 damage.
Especially a Kraken 2 that's capped at 150 the worst.
Yeah, that's a big thing that it's going to take me a little adjusting to, because 150% is actually not that strong of bosses. So when we find one, they're going to go fast, and we don't need a huge number of levels to get through.
No, not the way we do with some seeds like you might see in the spring tournament. And Edge appears to be happy with the amount of XP he's got at this point and is making his way out.
Yeah, hoping for his early levels to pay off. And then Jay Coper in the chat pointing out the power staff doesn't randomize. It does not randomize magic. It has no item magic, so it won't have a spell. It might have a different value if you sell it in the shop.
Since it's got the +1.
Well, and even if we have some of those values, they shuffle a bit anyway.
Well, it looks like Melmond is still terrible because it's Marsh Cave.
And Crabcake's pointing out the sink are two runners, both entering this first level of Marsh Bottom, but pausing for notes, and then we find that Matoya has moved into Marsh. I guess she was tired of all these people stealing her eyes and running around with them.
Saw that she had... Oh, it looks like there was a ribbon in Matoya's cave.
I would
two
say
ribbon.
That's a ribbon +2, so it's actually got a little bit of absorb on it.
That's something you always want to see as early as you can. Getting a ribbon just for the how much it cuts elemental damage on a character, it's fantastic to see.
Yeah, the only drawback for it is it's traditionally only one absorb, but if we have the absorb from it, then we have a little bit, every little bit helps out.
Sure does. And let's see where Titan's Cave takes us. Ooh, C.
And that looks like Kraken's floor, if I remember correctly.
And it looks like Edge is going to try it.
Yeah, he's got a couple levels. He is... certainly, this is doable with only 150% boss. So, and with his nukes. Cheezinator, meanwhile, is... Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, as long as, the encounters on the way there don't do him in first.
Yeah, Cheezinator being a little bit more thorough, checking those chests that we normally don't in Marsh Bottom. And the smart thing about that is because those are linked chests, now if he doesn't find the other half, he knows he's had a chance to find those items.
Oh, and we got Brack strats on Kraken. Got everyone running except the red mage casting Brack.
And to add insult to injury, Kraken has Poison Touch. Dengwu, a restreamer, pointing out that this is these bosses are clamped, so you're not going to get a super weak Kraken, but you're also, if it's only up to 150%, you're not going to get a super strong Kraken. And Edgeworth headed back in for round 2.
Now, do you agree with Edgeworth having everyone wait and just going for pure Brack strats?
I think that's reasonable, actually. I think with the stats, you're not likely to do enough damage fast enough, and he's depending on the RNG hitting hitting Kraken and getting that 20-25% chance of Brack hitting. So if he's got 2, 3, 4 shots in an encounter, it might be worthwhile.
Oof. And this time, Kraken goes right for the red mage. He is having none of these Brack strats.
Well, Kraken always he's got heat-seeking tentacles. He knows where that caster is. He always likes to go backline for some reason. And as Edge has made it through, Cheezinator is having that trouble with the encounters on the way in. As Edgeworth just decides not to fight that encounter, say, no thank you.
So many lobsters.
Yeah, lobsters are tasty, but
I'm allergic to shellfish.
unrunnable.
And they're rolling high. We're looking at 342 from a nuke isn't taking out a lobster.
Yep, gets a couple of punches out, but still not enough. Resets. Cheezinator making his way in is going to give it a shot here. And yes, this is Orb XP, so plus 25% experience for killing Kraken and lighting that first orb, assuming you can get out after doing so.
Edge manages to run from that single lobster as he tries to make his way back over to Kraken, and he gets there. Oh, nope, not quite. We got a sea troll and a sea snake trying to ruin his day.
And yeah, and Cheezinator heads over to Earth Cave and finds Crescent Lake.
Ooh, that could give us something. Right, we're going for round 2 of Brack strats. Oh, still no good. But our red mage is still up.
2 defenders down,
more
3
Brack.
hits, 3 defenders.
Still nothing. Oh,
nope, no turn.
We're on our last chance. Oh.
So Cheezinator in Crescent Lake is finding Pro Rings +5.
Oh my goodness, and they're cheap too.
I mean, they were already pretty much the best hand armor you can get. The only thing you can consider in its class is the Power Gauntlet, and that's just for the spell mostly.
Yeah, and with +5 on those Pro Rings, those are just gonna, like, you know, Opal Gauntlet +5 who?
And Early Sages is on, and we have our floater, so
Cheezinator in the air.
Yeah, this play is turning out to look really good for him. Noping out of that CK, Sea Shrine, heading over, getting his floater, and now he can go find the airship right away.
Yeah, this is paying off big for Cheezinator. Noping out, not trying to force that Kraken that wasn't happening, got him a floater, and now he can explore anywhere he wants.
And a couple of questions in chat. Opal Bracelet was available also. Yes, we have the Opal Bracelet from the Temple of Fiends, and it is +2, I believe. And then we have... What?
I said I think so. I was just agreeing with you.
Yeah.
+2.
And then we also do not need the canoe to get that floater out. We have extended open on, which means we have a desert or a dock right outside the Ryokan Desert. As Cheezinator heads west, sail west, young man.
And Edge is getting his face pushed in by these lobsters. Oh, manages to make it through though.
Yep, and here we go, Kraken again.
Round
we
4.
Get the... Yep, wait, Crack.
And he immediately, apparently on even numbered rounds, he goes straight for the red mage.
And then Cheezinator finds an ice armor +4, so that's something really useful right away. We can shuffle around some of this armor and protect another member of our party with that.
That's awesome. And we are in the air at about, what, 32 minutes?
Yeah, that's a great time, and Cheezinator heading into the volcano and finds a red Lich floor. So Lich is a much juicier target than Kraken, I would say.
Yeah, this noping out of Kraken is paying off so much for Cheezinator right now.
Yeah, and the more I think about it, the less of a risk that was, because he knew that progression either had to be there or at the vanilla on-rack location. So there were only so many places he could enter without the
Ooh, Blaze from Lich dropping some real damage on Cheezinator right now.
oh, ouch, and
And
thunder.
Thunder! But his Red Mage is able to clutch it through with the nuke.
Moving that opal bracelet over to protect the red mage, and Cheezinator might just go two-man for a while here and get some levels with this party, but lights his first orb, the first orb of the match. So Cheezinator takes both an exploration and an orb lead, while Edge continues to work his way against Kraken.
Yeah, there's just an awful lot of time wasted at this point on Kraken. At some point, you gotta just give it up as a sunk cost and move on. Well, we have found Lupa Lupa land over on Cheezinator's side.
And Lupa Lupa is exactly right, because there's nothing else we can do other than use the inn. As little as they say to us, they're actually hospitable today. We have the Lefanish hospitality flag on.
Well, we can use the inn and we can use the cleric to revive our fallen party.
Kraken not punching for once, using a blizzard, so Kraken's got all the nastiness.
But that's still an extra turn of people standing, so that's an extra turn of throwing out Brax. Broken
And
into pieces. Kraken is finally down on Edgeworth's side. Now, can he survive the way out?
Yeah, he gets away those last two steps. So Bracken into pizzas is correct. Edgeworth lighting his first orb, that water orb, and he is now forced to go down to Earth Cave. I mean, there are two other locations he could check, but with entrance randomizer, you're gonna check them all.
Absolutely. And a veteran move from Edgeworth. As soon as he steps out of the cave, he drops a cabin rather than taking a single step.
Cheezinator checking the marsh incentive and finding the rod that is an incentivized location. There are no loose items in these flags, so if they see a floor with an incentive location, they can check it immediately.
They absolutely can, and in this case, it pays off because he's going to need that rod in order to... Wait. Maybe he doesn't.
Yeah.
He's already beat Lich.
Yeah, we won't know if you need rod or not until later in the game, so that could be really useful, or it could just be an extra toy to play with, because it doesn't even give us that 5% experience we're used to.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe there's going to be another boss behind Rod, maybe there isn't.
And I just noticed that I think it's Dengmu rolled this seed. This seed has a joke for us. Wood armor -5.
Amazing. Fantastic. I love it.
It's wood armor is, if you're not sure, wood armor is already bad enough that most runners, or many runners, won't even wear it. It's only good for maybe the first couple of dungeons, you know, at the lowest levels, and then to be -5 means it's less than 0.
So if you're Edgeworth and you're just now picking up your floater after banging your head against Kraken, do you feel behind?
Yes. Even just not getting the Brax the first time, I've got to assume that my opponent has managed to brack Kraken the first time, because a lot of times that does happen. So.
Oh. Edgeworth is finally moving on. He's got his floater. He'll be in the air within a minute or two, depending on encounter luck. And Cheezinator is about to take on the big fish in the sea.
Yeah, he's got a little bit better armor. He did pick up those pro rings, and he gets it first
one
shot.
whack is all it takes.
So was that a calm blessing?
It may be. It may have been.
I guess if it's blurst, then that's how it works, where you have, some things get the negatives and some things get the positives. We find, we've seen this armor in Dwarf Cave, that ice +4 is pretty nice. The silver +2 is okay.
Certainly is. And it's good to know where that is in case we need to turn in adamant or TNT later.
Alright, and Cheezinator makes it up to Gaia, where he finds Canaria Castle, picking up the adamant from the king.
Speak of the devil.
Yep. And cube from Princess Sarah. So we know where that cube block is, and we know where to turn in the adamant, so that he certainly has some progression if he wants to take it.
Oh god, crab cakes, that's terrifying. Crab cakes asking what if the caravan was also a randomized entrance. Ooh, and we get the herb from that adamant turn-in.
Yep, and that's got me thinking, okay, I need to go check out some of the work done by our fabulous tracker, the bandit, Burt Reynolds. So, he's got it, and Cheezinator remembers right off the bat that we did find the Elf Castle, finding that required loot from the Elf Prince. So, required chain, but not giving us, I guess we still need the canoe for a couple of locations, so that would be helpful, but maybe or maybe not required. Just like the cube and the rod, we don't know if anything's going to be behind those locks or not.
True, but at least we know where it is, so it's something else we can check. Which Cheezinator's going for.
Yep, and Edge also going to make use of this clinic after lighting his second orb, so we are tied at 2 orbs apiece. Cheezinator finds that Carrie is hiding down here behind that cube block.
Cube required.
That's a big find. And that's also going to give him, if he can make it through Carrie, that'll be his 3rd orb lit, which means plus 75% experience. That's a huge, huge bonus. And let me check on the numbers on that, but I do know that it's orb bonus experience.
Yep. Edgeworth now in the bottom of marsh.
Yep, plus 25% per orb, so plus 75% experience, so he's almost making twice the normal experience per encounter.
Yeah, that'll really help with getting up to where you need to be for the end of the game.
Yep, and Edgeworth, following in Cheezinator's shoes, finds that rod, which we don't know if we need yet, in the Marsh incentive, and is making his way back out with it.
Ooh, there's the chime in the seafloor where Cheezinator is.
Yep,
Or
so...
ice floor, sorry.
Yeah. Well, it's in Ice Cave. Well, no, it's not. It's in Provoca, but it's the carry floor. And Edgeworth making some different checks. Checked Caravan to see if that was... So he's looking for the shop item.
Oh, and it looks like he's gonna do some entrance checking in the Cardia Isles. Oh, we see a hungry Titan.
Yep, that we're not gonna feed, because we don't have his favorite food yet. Cheezinator making his way back out rather than take on Carrie right away.
Now, is Titan incentivized in these flags?
I believe so. I believe every location other than Canaria Locked and Marsh Locked is incentivized.
Yep, there it is.
And we haven't seen one yet, but there are 3 non incentive items in the incentive pool. There's the Thor hammer, the white shirt, and the black shirt.
And Edgeworth has made it into the Ordeals maze.
Okay, Cheezinator headed back down, headed for carry this time, I would expect. Yep, and there he goes. So Magius1 in chat asking about these flags. What makes the flags so difficult? So it is entrance and floor shuffle. We do have clamped bosses, but they only scale to 150% maximum, so they're a challenge, but they're not a huge challenge. We also have a forced party, as Crabcakes mentioned, and then it's burst weapons, so that makes it interesting, not necessarily harder or easier, depending on what you get.
And considering a lot of the gear that they've wanted to wear has been plus, it's been good.
Well, I would say that a lot of the gear they want to use and that they want to wear, a lot of it was promotion locked. All that Opal gear and that X-Cal +1. So while some of the stuff, the pro rings were usable now, there's other things that we need to wait for and hopefully find a tail to use.
That's true, though we also had plus on the ribbon and plus on the Opal Cheerio, which we're already getting use out of.
Yep. Yeah.
And we got plus on those early weapons too. The sabers?
Yep, the sabers, and then we had the chain, and so we've had a lot of really fun, really helpful weapons that just happened to roll the right way for him.
Cheezinator's making his way down to check on Vanilla Lupa Lupa Land and see what it's become.
Yeah, this is an interesting play from him. So this is a bit of a long walk to find the Northwest Castle. He does not have the crown to give Astos, so...
doesn't have the key to unlock the chest, so for now, this isn't really useful.
Yep, so that's the right play. Cheese just reset out, while Edgeworth is making his way through the maze, chopping down zombies left and right.
While Cheezinator makes himself some delicious steaks.
Steak. Always team steak. Edgeworth has made it through the maze, so Sleep 2 Helm, that's our first bit of item magic. Not particularly useful item magic, and it's -2, so it doesn't even have that as good of armor as the Heal Helm normally has.
Wah, wah, wah. Ooh, a -4 ice sword.
So the seed gives and the seed takes away, and there we find a ruby.
Yeah, so now we may have to go back and feed that Titan.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's... I don't think there's actually a location that the other end of the Titan's tunnel could be up, but you're right, you mentioned earlier that this is... the Titan's tunnel is... or Titan's Trove is an incentive location, so we definitely do want to do that.
And it's conveniently placed.
Well, hey, I guess we just had to run down to the corner store to pick up the Titan up a ruby.
Lazy Titans. We got the Bane shirt.
So that's actually challenging now. So we don't know if that's a red shirt or a white shirt or a black shirt, but I guess it doesn't matter because we can't wear it anyway.
True.
But Bane for item magic is not bad. It's certainly something that can be used, especially on a character that's not going to do a lot of melee damage and just save you some rounds.
Edgeworth has found the armory.
And the free chest, he found an X-Fur Gauntlet +3, so he's finding all the item magic.
Staff?
X-Fur, and then die. Whether that's poison smoke or whether that's just destroyed.
And aside from those spell items, we just get a whole bunch of money.
Yeah, Pyrelight. So it casts Quad X, but the -5, I mean, isn't really going to come into play. That means if you're swinging it as a stick, it's like a little twig, but you point it at somebody and there's a chance they die. So it's a very scary little toothpick. And I think that's a Fire 2 gauntlet after that, so we are finding all of the item magic here in this one entrance.
Yeah, the fire arsenal really is an arsenal.
Okay, so while our runners make it through this dungeon in sync with each other, finding the marsh split, that's big. Yeah, it's Fire 2 and then -3. So if you're asking about the heavy metal, the IronGol Heavy Metal Championship, this is a league started in large part by one of our runners, Gouda, meant to be a fun way of sort of keeping track of who. Dengu's got a link to the document, and runners can challenge each other with all kinds of match stipulations. So there's no one consistent format. It's just you and your opponent. You decide together on which way you want to play. We've had 8-hour chaos. We've had 8-hour matches where it's like an Iron Man match, and who can beat the most seeds in that amount of time. We've had Chaos Rampage, where it's 3 different seeds, one after the other, but they're all fairly short with different sets of flags. I'm sure we've had the Fatal 4-Way, I believe. We have all sorts of things, and then the next big... So you schedule your individual matches, although it's mostly on hiatus for this spring tournament. I know where Gouda is starting the planning for the Battle Royale, which will be sometime after we finish our spring tournament. So that'll be everyone comes together, fights it out for your locations. Or for your...
Speaking of locations, it looks like we have a procedurally generated waterfall cave that both of our runners are in currently.
Yeah, so which way do I go? Well, you can actually wander in circles for forever in here. You can truly get lost. Or you can...
Or you can be Cheezinator, and I've already found it.
Yeah, so that's the second time in a row now.
-3, though.
Yeah, only reason that's a little bit better than that X-Cal is that you can equip it now.
We get a canoe, a free pro ring, and not that it matters too much because we pretty much equipped everyone who would need to with pro rings and some pocket change.
Yeah, and Crab Cakes, our previous spring tournament champion, immediately previous 2019, is pointing out that we have a slow 6 axe. So slow 2 is actually the light axe plus 4. So the light axe by itself is actually a pretty reasonable weapon, but plus 4 puts it into that upper tier of weapons.
Appreciate having Crab Cakes in our chat to point out things like that we might miss.
Yep, and as Death Star pointed some stuff out for us too, a pro ring plus 5. Yeah, we have already seen those pro rings, so we don't really need to pick that up. I think our runners already have purchased their pro rings in a shop. So we've found good weapons, good armor. What we really need is a couple more incentive locations, and we'll take another ribbon or two, but we don't need much.
It would be nice to find a tail, though, to promote.
Yep, and that'll be at an incentive location somewhere. So we need to find Tiamat, we need to find the key, and then we know where Temple of Fiends is, so we could actually go beat the game very quickly here. And all that pointed out by the Bandit, Burt Reynolds, who is doing an amazing job of tracking for us today. You've also seen Dengwu active in the chat. He is behind the scenes. He is restreaming, so he is producing this whole show, making it possible for us to get together and show you Edgeworth and Cheezinator in this IronGol Heavy Metal Championship match.
Looks like Edge still hasn't gotten over to Gaia to find Corneria Castle, where he can get his adamant and his cube from the royal, so that he can turn the adamant into the herb, which will then turn into his required loot.
And Burt Reynolds asking and answered is stun up chat. What's name was turned into stun, so sometimes having these names and switching everything around can give us some fun results. So, and then ranking-wise in the IronGol tournament, so Edgeworth was originally ranked 2nd, however has not had an IronGol match until this one, after that Battle Royale, so he's number 7 only because of Decay, while others played and he didn't. And then Cheezinator, this is his inaugural IronGol match, so they are playing for the number 7 rank in IronGol. And Grandylicious, the only thing you need to do to get into IronGol is find someone and challenge them and have that challenge accepted. And there are people of all skill levels in there. The rankings can be anywhere based on how active they've been, so I know a number of our spring tournament matches have also been IronGol matches. So Cheezinator went through Marsh Top, figured it out, and now is exploring the Cardia Islands, going over stuff that Edge has already seen, while Edgeworth diving deeper in here and finds the vampire floor and the rod block. So we'll see what's behind here.
This is exciting. It'll be nice to see if Rod was required or not.
Yeah, and I looked away for a couple minutes, and I'm sort of lost as to what entrance they're on, but this is why Floor and Entrance Shuffle is a different type of match altogether, and one we haven't seen for a while. Certainly, it's a lot of fun, and makes keeping your head around where you're at and what you're trying to do really important for this.
Looks like Edge feels comfy with his gear since he's skipping chests at this point.
Yeah, I think he's just hunting down incentive locations and looking for that tail to promote, maybe that Oxiel, and certainly the key.
Oh, there's the crown.
That's right, I forgot that this was a double whammy. It is both the rod lock and the Earth incentive item, so he's got a crown, and finds the Sharknado floor, so some easy free checks here. Finds Will Bloodworth's favorite Quarrel Sword.
Is at -1, though.
It's still only -1 is going to put it in still a pretty good weapon that you can use, and on that thief, even pre-promotion.
And we get a nice long Bahamut haul to see where we go next.
And it is a complete zonk. It is a Cardia useless location, just a dragon hut.
So it looks like we didn't need that rod after all.
Yeah, unfortunate, but that's why this is Randomizer. And Cheezinator found the sandwich station, taking on these worms, and managed to show them his nice shiny ribbon, shows them off the armor.
Yeah, it looks like Cheezinator is trying to set up a black belt grind, as Crabcakes was so kind to point out to us.
And in the meantime, these sandwiches took Cheese and put his light warriors in the oven and cremated them for a bit. Uses glance to turn one to stone.
Ooh, if they're going to be turning you to stone with glance, you maybe don't want to try and set up a grind on those.
Yeah, that's right. Although that Quad X, like, doing work, takes down the two sandworms, gets 10k XP on that black belt. So he is in prime condition to have a black belt grind. But we'll see. He wants these worms.
If he can get just one, that Quad X staff will keep him safe.
Well, and Glance was a little bit further down. It took a while into the encounter to get there, so with this sleep ahead of time, as long as he resists that, and I think he's got his ribbon on that black belt, so that staff is enough to kill these sandwiches with one shot.
Yeah, this grind may end up working out for him. Especially with that 75% bonus XP from the 3 bosses he's taken down.
Yeah, so he's not worried about these sandwiches putting him to sleep or anything like that, and as long as he's got 2 rounds to do it, so not a problem. And this is his grind. He's going to get that black belt level 20, almost 21, which is the first of the black belt breakpoints. So this is going to be a big power spike.
Yeah, and that just speaks to Cheezinator's experience that he was able to see this as the first encounter in this area and use it as a grind.
Yeah, and he's staying right at the corner, so that this is right on the edge. If you go a little bit further to the right, you're in a different encounter zone, so you will get different encounters. But he is staying where he still gets these sandwiches, these sandworms from the desert, and as like you said, is making great use of it, already up to level 23.
And already punching them to death instead of Quad Xing them to death.
Yeah, menuing is a little bit faster, and the veterans of this game know that, you know, a couple seconds spent in menu adds up time after time.
Absolutely it does.
Edgeworth is exploring, found a couple of sea floors in a row down under Top Marsh, and is on his way back out. So we'll see where he goes next. We know that he needs to go to Gaia to find Canaria Castle.
Absolutely he does. That's gonna... Well, but that's not so much of a priority, since that mostly is just getting him to loot. He needs to do it eventually, but it isn't really a priority.
Well, I would say that it's not... So the loot does need to be done eventually, but I'm more interested in the cube, which would lead him to carry to get that additional 25% experience in Lightest Orb.
You're right, I forgot that the cube was also required and got that extra XP.
So, yep, that's what we have a tracker and notes for. Because I'm certainly, you know, at times I'm missing stuff left and right here. Fortunately, Cheezinator's in a grind. It makes it a little easier to catch up.
Yeah, there's only one person you gotta pay attention to at the moment.
And then we gotta think, okay, we have the canoe, and the airship, so we have, every location is available to us, and we start narrowing down. Where could that 4th fiend be? Where could Tiamat be?
Nobian asking whether who is currently in the lead, and I would say that right now Cheese is advantaged in that he has killed 3 of the 4 fiends and has more of the endgame required items.
And more levels too. So his black belt is, so he's pushing for 32 at least. We'll see if he goes 32 or 42 with this black belt. I wouldn't be surprised if he just stops at 32, but that by itself could be enough to get through Topher.
Oh, he got slept through a ribbon. Immediately woke back up.
Yeah, fortunately it's sleep, so you do wake up immediately, but yeah, if you're gonna get hit with it that many times, you're gonna fall to it eventually.
looks like Cheese is deciding that the staff is more reliable since he keeps only getting single hits and not killing these sandworms. It looks like they've got pretty decent evade.
Yeah, he's even completely whiffed a couple of times, so... but you're right, as long as he can take them out and, you know, in one round takes out one sandworm, then, you know, that's fine for him.
Our chat pointing out that it's unlikely he'll go all the way up to 42 since we have the bosses clamped at 150%. 32 should be more than enough to finish out this seed.
Yeah, I would agree, but I know different runners have different priorities and different and different thoughts on the matter. Edgeworth finds the C-split, goes through a level of sky and a level of volcano, so he's got a couple of ways to explore here.
Crabcake's asking if they have fast, and no, currently they do not have fast. I do not believe we've seen it yet.
And it is not guaranteed that we'll have access to it either, since we only have that red wizard. I think we've seen all of the first 4 levels of black magic, so we know it's not thief learnable, or ninja learnable rather. So he hits 32, and we'll see if he's rearranging his party now, so brings up the fighter. I'd say that means he's done with his grind.
It sure looks that way. Yep, we're putting our equipment back where it belongs.
You mean it doesn't belong in your backpack? You know, protecting your back.
Something like that, yeah. We're also nearly out of save items on Cheezinator's side, so we may want to stop at a town and pick some more up.
And what do you know? He goes straight to the nearest town, which is Onrak, and revives his party, and then heads over to buy some houses.
Well, he revives his fighter anyway. It looks like the thief is staying down for the time being.
Well, that's what thieves are good for anyway. They can get you out of some situations in the early game, and then you just want to get rid of them. And don't tell Will Bloodworth I said that.
Well, we haven't found any katanas at this point, so...
Yeah, we have that
Or a
Coral
tail, for that
Sword
matter.
-1, which is not bad, but it's still not
Good.
not a great endgame sword. Certainly not compared to even Mass -3 or Xcal +1. Okay, so we sail up to Waterfall and find a little bit more Cardia treasure.
Nothing Cheezinator needs, so he resets out. And Onrak is Gaia.
And there's your fast CC. So level 7 black magic, first slot. So gold bracelets are -4, so probably not, well, definitely not as good as the silvers this time. We find a TNT for 36k, so Gaia is loaded.
Yeah, definitely needed to come here to take a look.
And CC, we know where Bahamut is. He moved into the Temple of Fiends. So he's not on vacation. Those were squatters in his home after he's moved on to the big giant castle. And we do know where the dwarf cave is. I believe it's Crescent Lake, but we can, and that's without looking at notes. So
Yep, it is Crescent Lake.
Thank you, sir. So Cheezinator is going to head back that way and turn in that TNT because he knows that he's really close to getting there. Although
All right,
I may
Merrick,
have to
what
stop
do you
cheering.
got for us?
I may have to stop cheering for Cheezinator.
Ooh, a Cure shirt +5.
I think that's what he deserves. Because +5 isn't going to be worth anything. He can't wear it. Cure's not useful. That is a big song.
Absolute waste of time.
That's what he gets for not saying hooray to the Hooray Dwarf.
And Edgeworth is in the spider floor of Sky. And he found a crystal.
Yep, in that adamant vanilla incentive location. So the crystal, and I believe we know where Matoya is, so we'll be able to turn that in and see what that leads to.
Absolutely.
I think she had moved into the bottom of marsh at Melmont, so...
And so... Yep, that's correct. At this point, unless she's got the Thor's hammer, I think we're gonna see the key from her, or the Oxyale. Many things we can see.
Yeah, there's still a couple of other fetch quest items. You know, the slab or the bottle. We could have. We could end up with the tail, the Oxyale, the key, or the Thor hammer. And then all of this is at Ordeal, so Cheezinator's in the right spot. Edgeworth, I believe it's on the right branch, but I'm not 100% on that. And is going to find a second incentive location here. This is a deep dungeon.
It is. I mean, having that split kind of helps make it even deeper.
And that brings me to a question that I actually don't know the answer to. Will this staircase in ice here take you all the way back out?
That's not something I know the answer to either. Hopefully one of our chat members does. It does, according to Crabcakes and Dangwoo. Thank you.
So that makes this deep dungeon much less deep and gets you all the way back out to the overworld. That is amazingly convenient for Edgeworth here. So
Actually,
he's going to be...
we don't have warp or exit.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is, you're all these levels deep. You don't know if there's that one rare, you know, unrunnable, nasty encounter that we haven't seen. So Matoya is not going to have Oxyale because Edge finds it at this ice incentive. However, we are going to be able to... Sorry, we found Phantom, so that means with these shuffled A-side trap tiles, we don't have to worry about the Phantom.
Frostwolves with damage poison. Ouch.
Okay, come on, Lar. You're only good for one thing, and you didn't run away. That is a long dive to lose. And Cheese found the top of marsh on right side, so Edge is on left side. Cheezinator is headed down this way, but Edgeworth knows exactly where to go, what stuff is here, what he needs to pick up, and what he wants to skip now. Which is honestly all of it except the crystal and the Oxyale.
Absolutely.
And
he's kind of what he was doing to begin with. He had been skipping an awful lot of chests unless they were free to begin with.
Okay. So Grendylicious asking a question that I actually do know the answer to. Ice 3 and 4 are always linked because of the drop downs, because of the holes that you fall through. So all 3 of those floors are actually linked together. So yeah, and that's one of those things where Edgeworth has got to, you know, stay composed, rely on that, you know, that veteran experience of, you know, he's been through some crazy stuff before. I'm sure there's been worse, although that that's pretty bad, losing a dive that deep, but I'm sure he'll pull his way through it and make it through these.
It's got to be extra frustrating, too, when you already feel behind because of what Kraken did to you earlier.
Yeah, at this point, though, I almost feel like that's sort of worn off, is that the emotional impact that, you know, the whatever tilt you might have from that sort of fades after you've been away from it for a while. But it's certainly, I mean, it is a good point, partner. It is certainly, he could still feel really behind.
If he didn't feel behind before, he probably does after losing that progress. We got Cheezinator using that Fire 2 glove to drop some Manticores for a little extra XP.
Yep, and here Edge is coming on his first loop. Hasn't seen any of those Frost Wolves so far, but Cheezinator not too far behind him, picks up his crystal, so both of them with the crystal. Edge just a 4 or so ahead. Running his way through, and is about to hit his drop down, just goes straight for that Oxyale this time.
Just gotta make his way past these blazing mud goals, which are not being polite to him. Luckily, he's able to run away.
Well, and he did manage to brave Melmon to go back for that life 2 you were talking about earlier, so that certainly helped, although he used up both charges of it, getting his party back together. We see Cheezinator with his Japanese Phantom and Eye Sprite. Has the full-on Beholder that didn't make it across into the US version of the game.
Can't imagine why.
No, TSR is a friendly company who would be glad to license their intellectual property to all of their friends. But yes, one of those minor changes. There's a lot of minor changes you can make to this game and still fun. As we noticed, I think some people were talking earlier about Cheezinator's black belt. His thief certainly is a different sprite as well. So there are a number of different sets of sprites, and we've had a lot of activity in the community in our creativity channel with people getting into designing new sprites and new ways, as long as you can tell the difference between the characters and if they're promoted or not for broadcast. But if they're not, then and it's just for you, then whatever you want.
Has anyone made a custom sprite that turns the nachos into an actual plate of nachos yet? I'd love to see that.
Not that I'm aware of, but absolutely. I mean, you should post it in creativity or try it for yourself. Okay, Brutask says that he's seen nachos done. Edgeworth finally finds the princess after having saved her almost an hour ago, and she's just been hiding out, waiting patiently for him to show up.
Still have not seen where Tiamat's hiding.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of entrances we haven't been to. So we've been to Onrak and Waterfall.
Yep. We've been to Gaia and Lefane.
So Bert picks up a good point. We have not been to the dungeon under Onrak.
Oh yeah,
that is in the Cardigan.
We just got the Oxyale.
Carrie is past the Q block, which is in Provoca. And Edge does know about the Q block. He doesn't know about Carrie. The other, and then Burt Reynolds calling that the crystal will be the key. So the bandit is our tracker tonight and has been keeping much better track of all of these things than I have. So I am going to put 100% faith in him that it's not the crown, because nobody likes that, you know, the backstabby guy hiding behind that kindly old king.
Wait, there's a backstabby guy hiding behind the kindly old king? Surely you jest.
Yeah, he
Oh,
yelled
no!
something about me
hold
change
hammer.
and it looks like Matoya was holding on to a hammer after all.
Oh no, you hate to see it.
So that means that the hammer's got like a super incredible grip. It's like glue or like Spidey hands or something, so you never lose hold of your hammer.
So it's looking like progression is gonna be at Astos at this point.
And oh my goodness, out of nowhere, Cheezinator finds the Bridge of Destiny, and his first encounter is Wormack. He
Oh my
decides to
God.
run.
We didn't even need a Bless RNG.
Well, Cheezinator did. He was trying to get away because that Wormack came armed for bear. He was punching hard, and there is no script shuffle, so that Wormack is going to have nuclear, 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 nuclear.
Ouch.
Yeah, there's a reason he's worth so much XP, because he gives you a run for your money.
Definitely.
Now, CC pointing that out, that script shuffle was supposed to be off from what I read, but you're right, the Frost Wolves had something, and I thought it was damage poison. And Sandworms had sleep and glance, so maybe it's just the scripts themselves, like which, yeah, like CC says, which monster has which script is shuffled.
Yes, it said scripts are not shuffled, so that floor safety is going to be a little more. No.
Right, so we don't know what skills Wormack had, so that means Chaos could be quad nuclear.
Oh dear.
Right, huh, okay. So Edgeworth finds and Cheezinator taking on Tiamat at the same time. Nice sync, guys.
And we got some Brack strats going on, and Edgeworth takes down Tia first with a nice Brack.
And yeah, then that's big revenge. That's gotta feel good after spending all that time trying to Brack Kraken. He's finally got his Brack working. He's got his Mojo Brack, and manages to take out Tiamat on the first cast. While Cheezinator's having a little trouble with it.
Yeah, looking like we're gonna just go with vanilla damage to kill Tia over on Cheezinator's side. Edgeworth getting the bad news about Fast being level 7 black magic.
Yep, but he's gonna come up here, find his TNT, that we know is another Zonk, but he doesn't. And Cheezinator coming down to find his other Zonk, you know, at Matoya, so...
He got us a Zonk Fest.
Yep, and we're still missing Bottle and Slab, so I wonder if that's one big long fetch chain for the key.
That seems reasonable at this point. Or the fetch chain could be to the tail, and the key is elsewhere.
That's right, we have two ends, not just the key, but the tail. We have done Sky Incentive, we have done Earth Incentive. We have all of the incentives except the lock chest, so let me just look at that, pull up that list real quick for us. So Ice Cave we found, Ordeals we found, Marsh Cave we found, Titan's Trove. Earth, Volcano, Sky, we have not found Sea Shrine. So I don't think we've seen the mermaids.
That's true. We have not seen the mermaid floor yet.
So there are no loose items in this seed. All we have, we can have the mermaids, and we can have that fetch chain that starts with the crown. And Edgeworth gave us a hooray. That's it. Give the man the championship right now. I don't care if he's not playing for it. Cheezinator did not give us our hooray. He deserves to lose. That's it.
Instant disqualification.
The only other thing I'm worried about is, will Edgeworth say nope to Cope? I mean, if you can't meme and make bad jokes, then what are we even doing here?
That's the entire reason to be here, is to meme and make bad jokes.
Hey, you know, I like you. You should do comms more often.
Why, thank you. Ooh, crab cakes. I only talk to Cope with guillotine on. Brutal. Edgeworth managing to survive that damage poison while getting his incentive chest there.
Yep. And Cheezinator finds the mermaids, heads straight for the incentive location. So here we're gonna see, is this the tail or is this the key? And yeah, I tried to hype that up a little bit, and the seed, of course, slaps me in the face and says, "Nope, you gotta wait. Do your fetch quest." While I'm ducking my head in shame, we find a Sun Sword +5, which is... Sun Sword's already a pretty darn good sword, and can be used by that fighter. Doesn't have to be a knight to wield it, so that's a pretty amazing sword.
Yeah, that's going to be absolutely fantastic, considering we haven't found the tail. It's a little less a big deal for Cheezinator, since he did that huge black belt grind, but you still like to see it.
Well, I mean, you never know when you're gonna get that 3 and 256 through a ribbon. I hope that's not a comm curse, but I'm sorry, Cheese, if it is. But
I'm not sorry,
it's always
he didn't
possible.
talk to the Hooray Dwarf.
Yep, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Or shuffle without warp or exit is extremely gross, crab cakes. I agree.
Yeah, but and they certainly gave themselves the magic to where this would be. It was very possible they wouldn't have both of them, and they didn't. So, fortunately, Mirage is close to being in vanilla. At least Mirage 2 is here, even if we have to skip a floor. It was only like 6 steps anyway, right? 5 steps on that first floor, so...
Cheezinator, at this point, has all of his orbs lit, so he just needs to get his key, and then he's good to go.
Right, and I'm trying to... And then we have Edge, and we're looking at his flag, so Lastoid asking, did Edgeworth just kill Carrie? And I'm pretty sure that he must have, but
Yeah.
I didn't actually see the end of that fight.
He was just in that floor, so...
And
Yeah.
certainly we can double check his inventory and make sure that, like,
Okay. Burt Reynolds says that he did manage to kill Carrie, so we are at all 4 orbs lit for both players.
And we're freeing a tiny fairy, and she gives us the tail.
A tail. So it is the crown that's going to take us to probably the slab, which will lead us to Key.
Wait, so if the fairy gave us a tail, so she told us a fairy tale?
How dare you?
I don't know. I guess I have a little dad joke stored up for tonight. So yeah, while Cheezinator does hold the lead in terms of having the levels on his black belt, and just needs to make it through these, and just needs to find his crown. Edgeworth does have that chain, but he needs to finish up and find out which of these two locations is going to be his key.
Let's see. I can look that up real quick. Crown.
Yeah, I was just about to do the same thing.
Was the Earth incentive?
So that was a fairly deep dungeon to get down there, and remember that rod lock, there was nothing past the rod lock, but we've got to go back and find that and figure out where that was, or Cheezinator's, hopefully he's keeping better track of what locations he's been to than I am, so that he knows where he still needs to go.
One would hope that he's keeping better track of it than we are.
Oh, and so it is in this dungeon. He's gonna get the ordeals incentive, and then which is the ruby, but then crown has got to be somewhere here in Cardia, I think. Okay, another important coming out from Burt Reynolds is that Edge has not found Astos yet. So Astos is down in Lefane. Cheese made that long walk early. I remember wondering about that play and wondering why he would go to Lefane early rather than checking Cardia, going with entrance density, which is a little different than a normal chest density, but... And a last word, yes, Astos is gonna be incredibly important because he has the key which we need to make it through Topher. That is our last item remaining for go mode.
It looks like Edgeworth also still has Oxyale since he's coming. Oh wait, never mind. This is Gaia. He's gonna turn in his bottle.
Yeah, this is one of those, you almost entrance and floor shuffle, take some wrapping your brain around, and I was very happy. Did I just see that?
Yeah, Edge just murdered a lady.
Right there in the middle of a forest path, and he just chops down that poor woman just standing there?
It appears that that's the case.
Man. So, does that mean Edge murdered her dwarf?
I think he only talked to him once. I don't think he talked to him again to kill, or does it only take one talk to kill? Wait, does that mean Cheezinator's secretly a hero because he didn't talk to her Ray Dwarf because he didn't want to murder her Ray Dwarf?
Man, I thought I was confused with entrance and floor shuffle, but... Man. This is like a murder mystery where, you think it's the one guy and then at the twist at the end and...
Edgeworth is on his way down to Lefane, so he is going to find Astos momentarily and turn in his crown to get his slab.
I think I remember a couple of the runners being stuck behind bats earlier, so if NPC Guillotine was on and they didn't remember, that is some wasted time that could come back and haunt them here as we reach the end of this seed.
At the very least, Edgeworth did get blocked by a dragon earlier.
Cheezinator did too at one point, where had to wait for one to come out from behind, from between some chests to get to. And here we have Astos has the slab, or the king gives us the slab, and Astos jumps out from behind him and attacks us.
only to get just absolutely brutalized.
Yeah, he really should have realized, checked the levels and run, but too late for him. Yeah, I think Cheezinator went down here into Top Marsh earlier, but didn't fully explore it, and Edge did. So that makes a big difference.
And Edgeworth fully on Team Friend as opposed to Team Stake.
So, man, I guess that means I need to root for Cheezinator again. If Cheezinator didn't kill Hooray Dwarf, Edgeworth did, and Edgeworth is Team Friend, then yeah. So Edgeworth is getting his slab translated, and then we'll head to the regular Lefane, which is Titan's Tunnel west side. Remember that because we were Lupa-Lupa, but we still managed to sneak into the clinic. Jeez, kill it. Kill these bats. Kill them with fire and guillotine and everything else.
Edge going on the wrong side of Titan's Tunnel and then crashing into the mountains.
That makes his way in, and we will see if all of our predictions are correct, and they are. We have the key.
Now the question becomes, does Edgeworth go straight to Topher, or does he go find a place to grind? Or does he grind in Topher?
So Edge did need Astos. Astos had the slab Elastoid, and the slab led to the key, which was required. So Edge is coming down here. He is going to check for these grind tiles and finds a great one.
Yeah, those metal slimes are going to give him some real good XP. Oh, and they're nice and low HP.
Yep, and he's going to grind all the way up here. He has all those level 3 charges with Nuke, all those level 2 charges with Fire 3. Those are going to be fantastic.
Definitely. Yeah, this should get him to where it needs to be. So now it's a race between Edge's grind and Cheezinator getting his crown turned in.
Yep, he got his crown and now he's checking Rodlock. I guess he doesn't realize that he does not need to check down here. And we know where Bahamut is. Bahamut is actually in Temple of Fiends. They both found it super early and have left it from there. Veneria Castle is the Temple of Fiends.
At this point, it doesn't seem like they're likely to bother to class change. But we do still have some of that Opal gear that might be worth changing the fighter into a knight for.
Yeah, and that's kind of the big payoff there is going to be you're not really going to have any spell charges, and I mean level 2 magic had some good charges for that knight. It had Cure 4, which would be useful. Thief could learn Nuke, like Elastoid points out. No fast, no temper, no life 2.
Yeah, there's just not a lot of value in it aside from that Opal armor.
Yeah, so it's going to be gear and maybe that X-Cal.
That's true, that X-Cal is also kind of... But we got that huge Sun Sword. Wasn't it a Sun 5?
Yeah, so Sun 5 I think is probably better than X-Cal +1, but I'd have to look to make sure my knowledge of all these weapon stats is not that precise. I have an idea of the vanilla items, but this is why our runners like Burt Reynolds and Crab Cakes love this scene, because it really tests your knowledge of all the weapons and all the armor in the game.
And Elastoid is verifying for us that a Sun 5 is going to be better than an X-Cal 1.
Yeah, and so it certainly, and it makes everything different. You have to think a lot harder, which is, part of what we're here for, just different variations on this same Okay, Cheese getting blocked by this bat again that he doesn't realize he could just chop down with a swing of his sword.
Game Boy F9 giving us the actual stats on a Sun 5. 42 attack, 45 hit percent, and 10% crit.
Okay, and Crab Cakes, you know, hang out well. If Cheezinator doesn't realize that there's guillotine, then he obviously did not spare Hooray Dwarf on purpose. So Edge hits level 24. Is he happy with that? It looks like it. He's headed out. I didn't see his spell charges, though.
Well, he was probably going to drop a house.
Okay, yeah, it must have been just to refill his spell charges and come back in to grind a little higher. So
I think he's
we'll
only
see how far he
24
goes.
on one character, and he probably wants to get 24 on a couple others.
Yeah, so the big question is, which sword does he want to use? Because the Sun Sword, as Dengwu points out, is going to get its breakpoint for its 5th hit a bit faster than that X-Cal. So that will also factor into what level he's going to go to. And if he was going to promote, he should promote before he does this grind. So that actually points to me that he's likely to not promote at all.
That's also was my figuring at this point. The fact that he's grinding now as opposed to promoting makes me think he's good with that Sun Sword on his fighter, and he's going to use that as his endgame damage dealer.
Yeah, I mean, he could have forgotten where Bahamut is, but Bahamut's just right down the road, so if you knew where it is, that would be certainly, that's your choice.
And he hit 24 on the rest of his party, and he looks like he's making his way back out, so this may be the dive. Back in, straight up, and at 1 hour, 39 minutes, and 45 seconds, we are entering into Temple of Fiends Revisited.
And Cheezinator making his way down, gonna turn in his crown, so he needs to get through, and CC in chat calling out, Edgeworth does need to one-shot this. Cheezinator's going to be not far behind him, and then with that 32 black belt is just going to run through everything.
Definitely, yeah. Edgeworth does need to get through this in one piece and one-shot it. Otherwise, Cheezinator is so much more prepared. He is absolutely going to one-shot this, especially with the Fiends being locked at, clamped at a max of 150% boss.
Yeah, so they have a minimum level of danger, but they have their maximum level of danger is not all that high. And of course, maybe Lich's first turn nuke is on somebody else. Somebody fun.
We've got some unrunnable chimeras with stun touch.
Not doing a lot of damage, so this is more annoying and more costing you time than anything else.
Absolutely. But we've got that level 1 Ice 2, which is doing some pretty good damage to them, while saving the better spells for later.
And then you have another annoyance of Stinger coming out. And maybe we'll get yet another, maybe we'll get some of that poison sound effects out of Edgeworth.
Everyone's favorite.
Cheezinator running into a little trouble in Zozo Millman, but makes his way through. Has his slab translated and heads to Lefane, so he is maybe a minute away from entering the Temple of Fiends, depending on how much shopping he decides to do.
These chimeras have an awful lot of health. They are just not going down. Can't remember a time when Edgeworth wasn't in this battle with these chimeras.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Cheezinator's been done like a whole loop of the world and done his full set of turn-ins while Edge was in that one battle. And the green-flavored Agama is clearly an inferior flavor to the red Agama.
I don't know, the amount of XP you get from the green-flavored ones would suggest otherwise.
Well, it's like eating spinach. You know, the spinach doesn't taste very good, but it's better for you.
Talking cooked or uncooked spinach?
Well, either way, Lich comes out, gives us some medicine with a nuclear.
Good Lord! Pretty much as bad as vanilla Lich hitting you with nuke right off the bat.
Well, and we're hitting Lich, and we weren't doing a lot of damage to him, so that tells me he's got a fair amount of absorb, probably.
We killed him pretty quick nonetheless.
I mean, he is still Lich, so he's going to be fairly weak, but for a Lich 2, that was actually a pretty tough one. I mean, I'd be happy to give him the old respec. As in, change his stats so that he's tougher.
It's fair enough.
Okay, finding some Grey Worms on this floor. Heading down, while Cheezinator gets through his seafood party platter, squeaking through with that black belt, almost dying.
Ooh, unrunnable red dragon encounter.
Yeah, I'm watching to see, and Cheezinator makes it through that floor without finding a single Chimera, is onto the Earth floor, and is on his way down. So, and Game Boy pointing out that there's a reason red dragons are the fun police. Fortunately, they don't have Dragon Lord 2 Breath this time, so we don't have to worry about it too much.
Yeah, definitely. And Crabcakes is pointing out that it's very possible Cheezinator could end up passing Edgeworth if he gets less unrunnables, because he is going to kill the fiends significantly faster with that black belt.
Even just those encounters, he's going to blow through a little faster. So, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, although Cheezinator entered, 7 minutes behind, this is a race.
To be fair, 6 of those minutes were on that Chimera fight for Edgeworth.
Fair enough. And we have Edgeworth on carry 2, while Cheezinator is making his way through the Earth floor, uses a Fire 2 gauntlet, Fire -1 gauntlet to take out the Gurmedusas, and pulls Lich 2.
And
nothing.
Thankfully for that, Thief was actually able to hit for some damage, because I just saw, like, 2 hits for, like, 2 damage from the fighter on carry 2.
Yeah, and also I didn't see carry 2 pull out anything too dangerous either, so...
but we get sneak attacked by the seafood party platter.
And Cheezinator makes it through Lich 2 without seeing the nuclear, so that's one more piece of bad luck for Edge that Cheezinator has just managed to walk right past.
But we get the drop on some waters, and it looks like we're just about to see what the old wall of Kraken 2 has to give us today.
Using that Cure 4 to bring that black belt up to health, and we'll see what Edge decides to do with this party. Leaves the knight up front. So we have dual fiends again, Edgeworth pulling Kraken 2, while Cheezinator pulling carry 2.
Only 58 damage from that hit. Oh, 22 damage off of 4 hits from the fighter. Oh, that is not good.
Yep, and Kraken is
and the fighter is down.
That Cure 4 from the Red Mage coming out too late. That is a corpse. You need the one spell in this game better than Cure 4. Nuke's not hitting bad, but Kraken has got all of his tentacles in play. 693, and
Do we get it? Nope. Kraken up, fire 2. We get to live enough for another turn. Now we're down to just the red mage. Will this nuke do it? 258. Kraken is still standing, and we're going for the desperation quad X. Does this do it? Kraken is erased.
And meanwhile, Cheezinator also used Quad X to put away Carry 2 after losing 2 of his party members, including his black belt, but is now down on the seafloor and is tearing through this. Well, Edgeworth makes it clean through to Tiamat 2, and we're going to see what Tiamat has in store. Cheese rearranging his party, putting his black belt in the back line.
There has been a lot of absorbed from these fiends that is really slowing Edge down.
Alright, Tiamat leads off with Fire 3. And we'll focus a little bit more on... And Nuke! Nuke! Tiamat 2 with Nuke knocks out 3 men of Edgeworth's party.
And Edgeworth has reset out.
Those were huge nuke rolls, took out everybody but the fighter. Let's see what Cheezinator can do with this. As Cheezinator kills Kraken 2, and he's going to be headed down, Edgeworth looks like he wants a few more levels.
Yeah.
We get the IronGol, the runnable IronGol from Cheezinator. Yep, and correct, Burt Reynolds, the Knights were, as you marked down, life was in that second slot, so it was white locked, and life 2 is level 5, so only the red mage has casts of life 2. And IronGol is here. This is his tournament, so IronGol making an appearance as a gatekeeper, trying to warn Cheezinator about what this Tiamat 2 has. So Cheez comes out, hits 6 hits for 382, 4 for 232, doing some damage early.
Nuke for
up to
120.
about 700 damage or so. Tiamat with that first round Fire 3. This is the round. Does Cheezinator make it through, or do we get that nuke? 860, 950 damage, another 130.
Tiamat swings.
Yeah, Tiamat swing, and that is a reprieve for Cheezinator. 1 extra round to get through here.
Going with Quad X.
And Quad X terminated.
Cheezinator is got his foot on the gas, and he shows no sign of stopping as he rolls on to Chaos.
All right, and Edgeworth headed down to the Blue Dragon tile, so that's going to be his grind. He wants that instead of the metal slimes. So Tiamat 2 was erased, and Cheezinator is here for Chaos. Says, big boy, that's my spot. Get out of my way.
We're getting some tempers out. Oh, we're getting some decent damage off of that.
Yeah, the
Thief.
black belt with 8 hits for 284 with that 1 temper already out.
2 hits for 2 damage, significantly less helpful from the Thief this round.
Yeah, that Thief is completely dependent on crits to do damage here. But these 2 tempers, temper sharing a level with life 2, so managed to get through without losing a party member, so this is going to be it. We're doing 300,
absolutely.
400 damage around.
Yeah, unless Chaos does something absolutely nuts, this should be Cheezinator's race to take at this time.
There is 636 there with a crit. So
Chaos
we're pushing
gotta be
up.
getting close.
Yeah, so we're 1600, 1800 damage, and Chaos comes out and punches the Thief right in the face, knocks him down, but that's not who you need to hit.
I expect we'll see Chaos go down this round.
Yeah, he'll have between 2,000 and 3,000 health, and that is
There it is.
Good call, partner. GG Cheezinator.
GG, get your GGs out in the chat for Cheezinator. And Edgeworth has stopped. And it looks like we're going to have to call it quick because there got another race coming up. So GG to Cheezinator. Unfortunately, we do not have time for interviews. Mr. MG Weirdo, it has been great commentating with you. Thank you for taking me through my first time.
Well, you've been great here in the booth, Dr. Funkin, and then we want to mention just a couple of things. Cheezinator did finish with an official time of 1 hour, 52 minutes, and 14 seconds. We want to thank Randomania for hosting us, and yes, we'll give you your channel back very quickly here. We have Dengwu is our restreamer tonight, and Burt Reynolds the Bandit tracking at this entrance floor shuffle race. So thank you to all of you out there for watching, and thank you to our runners for putting on a great show. And that's it from me. This is Weirdo. So if you have anything else, Dr. Funkin, let's take us out.
Make sure to follow our restreamer, follow our tracker, follow our runners. And you know what? Follow MG Weirdo.
Well, that is all for us in here in Final Fantasy Randomizer. So come join us on the Discord, and we will see you next time.